Okay, so today for our mini real talk, we're talking with Beth Kirk.
Your favorite realtor. No offense.
And today we wanted to talk to you about how you build your repeat referral business. So to start it off, how I ask everybody, tell me a little bit about what you did before you got into real estate.
I taught school. I was a pre-K teacher. It's my passion as 4-year-olds. I love kids. Oh shoot. Okay, I'm gonna have to turn this off. It's ringing in my ears. Okay. I taught pre-K for 16 years. Can you turn that off? And my vocal cords gave out at about 13 years, and so the doctor said, you can keep teaching, but you're gonna have smoker's voice for forever if you don't stop. And so that lasted about 2 more. I was like, whatever. And so that lasted about 2 more years, and then my 16th year, by 9 a.m. I was totally no vocal cord, no voice at all, just whispering. So in December, my mom kept saying, why don't you go into real estate? You're gonna love it, you're gonna love it. And I was like, hell no, I will never work for my mother, ever. Like, I'm married to my mother, I have Caitlin, my mother, and I have my mother. So I've got, no, I'm not working for her. No, that's not happening. And so when I was like desperate, like no voice, I said, okay, if these 3 things happen, then I know I'm supposed to go into real estate. And so the first 2 happened like within 2 days. The third one happened, and I made it hard too. I was like, this is never gonna happen. Happened like on Friday of that week. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, Mom, I'm going into real estate. And so I got my license that night, and in May I graduated. I finished school and started at American with Mom, and she was the lead for the team. And then after a year, she wanted to come here where we would flip, and I would be the lead person, and she would be, under me per se. And so we did that for 5 or 6 years, and slowly but surely she got to be where she was like, oh, honey, you don't need to do that amendment. It's fine. Don't worry about that. You don't need to sign that. That's fine. Oh, maybe it's all going to work out. Don't worry about it. And I was like, this is not working. So slowly she weaned out real estate and mainly just does all the building. And she's developed subdivisions, and she still is building 85 today. Happy birthday, Mom!
Yay! I let her know.
She is still building, developing, creating. She has a very creative mind. And so I'm in real estate. And I love it because it's still teaching, but it's for adults but it's just as valuable of an asset to that person as it is a child. Like when you buy a house, that's huge, that's monumental, and you want someone that can educate you through the process. And so I really like that you're having such a huge impact on that person by what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And how you care about, the process. And you're not concerned about the end. It's my big thing in life is making relationships. And in real estate, if I've made a relationship, then it was successful. So, well, pertaining to this subject on contacts and keeping clients, her big thing when I first started was give me 5, by the end of the week I want 5 people that you touch. It can be your beautician, it can be the lady at the grocery store, it can be a friend of a friend, it can be I have a group of sassy sisters that we travel every year together. It could be all of them, it could be their parents, it could be, but make me 5. And then a month later it was, I need 10. And then I need, she made me build my base. And then not only did I have to build it, but then I had to nurture it. And that was when I had my first closing with Taryn Heber, my favorite.
And you did great.
I don't remember, but she was very nice about it, so we'll just say I
You did.
And
Do you feel like that
that
made you more intentional throughout the day as you met people to be aware of them and focused on those interactions?
I think my whole thing with the contact was I wanted to build that relationship, and the success of the end of it was, did you go into my contact book? Like, some people I didn't want in the contact book at the end of it. And so that's okay. Some people we don't want to ever work with them again, and that's okay. You just don't answer the phone or refer them to Melanie. But my big thing was establishing that relationship and then nurturing. Because even if you have a contact manager, if you don't feed
it.
them and work it, then it's pointless.
Yeah.
It's not even worth the paper.
Absolutely. So how long have you been in real estate total?
16 years.
And can you explain your process a little bit in detail? I know you said that not all of them make it to the
So what I do is at the end of the road, when we've closed and you have your file, then my assistant will say, Realty Juggler or not Realty Juggler? I use Realty Juggler, and that's my contact manager. It's very simple. It's way basic. Like it is, it doesn't come any more basic. But I'm not a, I get too bogged down in big processes like talk producer, and it's just not me. I'd rather have a sticky note than, you know, so Realty Juggler is very simple, and so if they get in Realty Juggler, then their address, email, and their anniversary date. And so every year, and every card that I send out has a $5 gift card in it, so that I know they're opening the card. Because if you just send them cards, after about the third year, they're like, oh, yeah, you know, because, but with mine, it's like they're fighting over who gets to open the Starbucks card because they know there's a gift card in it. So every single letter has a card in it. And so they get an anniversary card, and they get either, you're one of 3 groups. You're either a family with young kids, so you get a gingerbread house at Christmas. You're a, I think Kristen got one of those.
Yes, my kids love
You're
it.
you're a, in the middle, kind of, you don't want to build a gingerbread house, nor do you want a poinsettia. So you get a gift during the middle of the year, like July, you might get whatever is happening at the time, a charcuterie board or whatever. Yeah, and so, and then if you're older and it's somebody that would like poinsettias, then you're on my poinsettia list. So you always get something brought to your house once a year, and you always get 1 card and then 2 other cards during the year for whatever reason.
I like that you
4th or
make a
whatever.
point to hand deliver it to
One.
the house whenever you do
I'm
it
not
that
doing more
time.
than one.
Huh?
I'm not doing more than 1.
Yeah,
But-
no, but it's good. And do you see the benefit in getting to have that face-to-face follow-up even over
Yes.
just mailing?
Yes, absolutely. It makes a huge difference because when you went to their house more than one time, it's like you're their friend for life. Like
Yeah.
you are the expert in their book on real estate. So
And I know you had said the other day when we were talking about it that sometimes you'll have like the husband trying to get out the house first to get to visit before the wife comes.
Oh yeah. Okay, so in my little elderly group, it's funny when I go to their house to bring the poinsettias. I had 2 men this year that the woman was in the back and the man opened the door. Both guys shut the door behind him and went outside to visit with me because they knew if the woman came out, they wouldn't get to visit anymore.
So
So
you
then-
deliver everything?
Yeah, once a year they get delivered. So,
Right.
The rest of it through mail.
yeah. Vivian and Amy do their own, and then I do mine.
But it sounds like you're doing, like everybody on whichever bucket those people fall into, they're still getting things in the mail.
Yes.
And then some of them get or most of them get something delivered once
Right.
a year from you, depending on which bucket they fall
Right,
into.
exactly.
Yeah, so it's multiple
And
ways
yeah,
to
it
reach
just
them.
depends on where you fit into the group. Like if
Yeah.
you have young kids, you're getting a gingerbread house.
Yeah. About how many times a year would you say that you touch your sphere? Was it 2?
4.
4.
4.
Okay.
The
So
3
at least
cards,
quarterly.
anniversary, 2 during the middle, and then a gift.
So would you say that you believe that investing in your clients that you already have is more beneficial than trying to invest that money in gaining new clients? Because a lot of people,
Yes.
work so hard to get new
yeah.
ones when,
I know most of the people in here can say their referral repeat business is where it's at. I mean, you don't have to work for it, it comes to you. Once you've nurtured your base, then everywhere you go, they're gonna ask you about real estate or, oh, so-and-so wants to list a house, or, I get calls all the time, oh, my friend's listing her house, would you go out and talk to them? I'm not a big competitive, like, go out, I'm gonna beat everybody on this listing. That just stresses me out. I want you to be my friend. I don't want to win. And so, because of that, I've built my business on referrals, versus,
and I know, and I like whenever we had talked before, you had talked about how at the end of the transaction, whenever you're considering who goes in and who doesn't, that you really take into account how that experience felt for both sides. You know what I mean? And if it felt
Right.
like a productive and
Right.
positive experience of somebody that you want to continue working on that nurturing relationship with, I think that's so nice, and it's something that we talk about in like the mastery with Buffini class that we did the other day, that there are some that you want to delete out of your database because you don't feel like it
Right.
fed you or benefited you, and that's okay too. But I love that you said that and how you organize yours in a little bit different way, but they're still very
Right.
organized and broken up.
Even if they were someone that they sold their house and they moved to Houston or Baytown or whatever, I still keep them on there because they still have family and aunts and uncles, and so even if you're a seller, it's not only buyers, it's sellers and buyers that I'll, if I had a good relationship, I want to keep that going.
Yeah. Any of the cards that you send out, do you handwrite them? Do you order them? Is there any kind of a personal touch?
I think it's Vistacard or something like that. I use that. That seems to be, they're cute, they're cheap, they're fast. And some years on the anniversary, I fill in everything on the card. It comes in, and I just put like 4th, and then the date, like August 25th, 2017, and then my name. I sign that. But everything else is already on there.
Yeah.
So,
But it's nice you do still sign and have some of your.
yeah, and then some people I'll add extra to it, if I want to make another comment or whatever. But for the most part, I just fill it in, and they really don't care. They're just looking for, they love the address, the date of when they closed. It's just kind of exciting. Oh, I forgot. We closed on August 25th.
Yeah.
And so, and the gift card. They love the gift card.
Can't forget that.
So,
Does your CRM, or do you have another way of tracking what you send out and seeing kind of the response that you get? Have you made any changes throughout your career? depending
I
on what
clean
feedback you
it
get?
every so often. I have 170 on there, and so that means 170 gift cards, 170, so I'm very particular on who stays on. And so, if, like, if I get a card back in the mail, like you moved, I'm like, oh, you are so off this gift, you're off. And so, if you go through another realtor or whatever, I'm like, nope, sorry, you're off.
That's
Then
funny.
you honk when you go.
Yeah, exactly. And so, no, and then I'll clean it off every now and then, go through and just make sure they're, still somebody I want to nurture. I mean, they always are, but you never know.
So going back to when you first got in, because it sounds to me, just based on your approach today, that was kind of always the attitude that you had. Like, you wanted to make a friend first, and then
Exactly.
when you were going out and building that base. So what were some of the activities that you did back then that have allowed you to maintain that base? And then you've talked a lot about how you nurture them throughout the year. So when you were first starting, and even though you had your mom, you still were responsible. She had that expectation, like, hey, I need 5, and then I need
Right.
10. So what were some of the things you used to do? And do you still do some of those things today?
I've always done the gift cards, the anniversary cards for sure. And then I think, I don't know of any that that I've changed or added. I can't think of. I know the gifts have changed through the years, and they've become more expensive. Like $10 a poinsettia to a new realtor is a lot, and so I think the price of my gifts have changed, and kind of like closing gifts. What you started out with closing gifts may be different now.
Yeah.
And
You
so
invested more in.
but I don't think it mattered. It was just I made the effort to go to their house or write them a card or put a gift card in there, in there. And I think it's just doing it consistently.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
every year they're going to get that card, every single year. And I have had people from the very first year, I haven't talked to them. They just get their gift card and they'll call me back to relist their house.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Do you ever get any calls whenever they receive it or anything
Oh, yeah.
letting you know? Or
Like
texts
the
about-
gingerbread houses and the poinsettias and, but I don't usually get a whole lot of calls back on the older people gift because I talk to them then. But if I leave a gingerbread house, if they're not there and I leave it, I usually get a phone call or something.
Or a picture of really cute.
And my
trees.
anniversary cards, I get a lot of calls from the anniversary cards.
Really?
That, I can't believe you still remember us, and,
Oh, that's really nice. And it's something that seems so simple, you know what I mean, and easy to overlook, but like you said, how it makes them feel and
Yeah.
brings back that good positive memory for them.
It's mainly consistency.
Yeah.
It's,
Absolutely.
this is 16 years later and they're still getting a card.
I love that seems to be the theme that we get to hear throughout all of the speaking engagements with agents that we do, is that seems to be the, one thing it comes down to for everyone.
Consistency.
Absolutely, yeah.
And everybody has their little niche on what they
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
And it's not what I do, that it's doing what you do consistently.
Yeah, so finding something that feels natural and authentic to you and that you would be willing to commit to consistently.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some people do pies,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
stuff. I mean,
Do you ever call or text your database?
I
or-
text everybody once a year. I love Vivian, how when she was on a trip,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, oh
You
yeah.
mean Big Bill.
I love
Big
that. Big Bill.
Big Bill.
Did you hear that, Big Bill? Little Bill. But yes, I do text my clients once a year, and it's amazing how many comments you get back
Mhm.
by just sending a little text.
Well, I think it was like a year or two ago, you did Text-a-Palooza, and it was
I
like, what was it, like 50 or 55
I remember that.
or something?
Yeah, it was not
'Cause
like
Charlie
that came in.
had just
Yeah.
thrown it out there and said, I think it was like maybe during lockdown. It was like,
It
just
was.
go on a texting blitz. And
Yeah.
you were one that did.
I did.
And I think it generated a ton of activity.
I
Yeah,
forgot
it was,
about
and then I
that,
ended up having 3 listings from
Yeah.
that they or sold, listing or sold.
Yeah, isn't that
It's just-
cool? And it's so funny because, I mean, like you said, those are people that you're already in touch with, but you never know how,
Right.
how many times or what's going on that just a little action like that can put you back to the front of their mind whenever they need it, you know what I mean, and be a
Well,
difference
it's
maker.
amazing how many people, they're like, oh, Vivian's my realtor, but in the moment they're talking to somebody and they'll say, oh, have you used Mark? And then they go use Mark instead of, so if you are not top of mind,
Yeah.
they're quick to.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is, sooner or later, some of us will die or retire. And you get that
So you need to be
You're so
be the
funny.
nice one.
Yeah.
So do you feel like because you are always looking at ways to continue reaching out and nurturing those relationships that it makes you more aware or with listening whenever you're walking them through houses and trying to find out what they like or don't like, things like that?
That is in my building a relationship with them, and that is, I was telling you about, I always try to listen to there's always a dominant and a non-dominant when you're showing houses. Like the wife may be super talkative and the husband's just like, whatever she wants. Well, believe it or not, there is something that he wants. So if you figure out what he wants, because she really wants to make him happy, she would like that. No, it doesn't she tries. But I always try to find out what's that thing that they really want that they're not talking about. And so whether it be he really wants a man cave or he really wants a barn or she really wants a laundry room with a sink or whatever. And so that's just something I've always picked up on and tried to listen to the non-dominant person. And it seems like the dominant person, husband or wife or whoever, they appreciate that I want to hear what that other person wants to say.
Yeah.
And so it's again just building relationships, listening, that kind of
I
thing.
think that's so smart though, because just because you have a dominant one in the relationship does not always make them the decision maker.
Yeah.
The end all be all. And so I think it's really great that you listen and you kind of read in between the lines where you can, because
Right.
while the wife may be the one who's like, the husband's like, sorry,
Yeah.
like, we got to do it this way, or you got to stay within these boundaries, or
Uh-huh.
whatever the case may be. So
But then when you find out what he really wants,
Yeah.
then it's
Yeah.
a different story.
it is.
So is there anything that you haven't mentioned or that you don't do regularly that's something kind of out there that you have given a client in particular?
What have I done, Vivian?
You buy dinner for your
Oh, I do.
For their families.
Sometimes when they're moving, I buy pizza from, well, it depends on what town they're in. I try to find a really cool
Love it.
restaurant or new little trendy place and bring them supper for the night that they're moving in. And that's really good for all of their
I love
friends
that,
that
yeah.
are there. They're like, dang, I like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, Beth Kirk, your favorite realtor, you need to call me.
Yeah.
So then whenever you built a team now, is that something that you have stressed to your team members whenever they came in of all those, how important
Vivian, have I
that is?
stressed that? Yes. Even when you were a baby bird,
Yeah.
you got it all starts with who do you know, and then keep building and building and building.
Yeah.
And working it. You worked it. You were very good at working it.
That makes me want to make a laugh, like, work it. I'm a 12-year-old. I can't make jokes like that. So tell me a little bit about your motto that you go with and how you came up with that and how you find that important.
I really don't know
Branding
how
it.
that
That's
came
a
up.
lot.
I just and not everybody's. I don't say that to all my clients. You have to earn that. Like, because some people I'm like, no, I am not your favorite realtor. Do not remember my name. Lose my card. But and then I have to kind of work it in slowly. But by the end of it, after a few emails and texts and that kind of thing, then I'll say, okay, that sounds great, your favorite realtor, you know, I just kind of slide it in. So then when they start getting mail from me, everything is your favorite realtor.
Yeah. So you say about whenever, just getting to know your client so that you don't kind of come off
Scare
too
'em.
strong with them. Yeah. How do you handle that whenever you interact with a client of kind of learning their personality so that you do that? The emotional intelligence
I
of
would
it all.
think like all the years in pre-K was probably such good training.
Oh, with parents,
Oh, yeah.
my goodness,
Yeah.
It's a win.
And I taught Head Start, so that was a real challenge. And so I think showing, I really like, I'm really sad that people don't ride in our cars anymore, but I'm kind of glad because I can drink my coffee or whatever. But when we used to drive in cars, now it's on showings. You really get to hear, it's more listening of what they're talking about, what interests them, what they liked about a house. Some things, I know all of y'all know you cannot react when you walk in a butt ugly house. You can't because that person may love it. I walked into one and it was so horrible. They loved it. They loved it. Right then I was like, never ever again, do not react. Because I was like, oh my. And they're like, oh my. And I'm like, oh my. So I learned real quick, don't react. Like, just don't say it. Read them
Read the
first.
room.
Yeah, read the room first and then comment. Because some people like really quirky houses. I have one.
I'm getting off of the topic, but so do you, in interacting with a client like that and seeing that, do you change your interactions at the beginning with the questions that you ask to try to find out a little bit more deeper of what they're looking for and what they
I
want?
think you can ask, but it's really watching their body language.
Yeah.
You can tell. I mean, we've all
Yeah.
walked in the house and we're like,
Yeah, because sometimes they don't know what they want or don't.
right.
Yeah.
And they, but just listening to them and what I thought was gross about it, they can totally look past and,
Or they love it.
and they love it.
Or they love it.
that
Shag
red
from the
tile or
70s.
yes.
I've always wanted that.
Okay,
Okay,
agree.
so with all the different things you send out and all the different ways that you reach out, how do you stay organized with that so that you don't miss a step or leave anyone out?
Realty juggler. And I have an assistant because I know my weaknesses and that is not in paperwork and, systems and such as that. So I have my little assistant and she puts it in the day of closing. They go in and then
Does it send you reminders at that time of year or?
well, we do it at the beginning of the year. So the whole year, all the envelopes are done, the cards are in, the anniversary date is in, everything's done. It's sealed. And so she starts in like November and works on the following year.
So are they just
And
filed at a?
They're in a
drawer?
little box, and at the beginning of the month on my calendar it says send out anniversary cards.
Mhm.
Like on the 26th of the month
I
before.
like that.
And then I just take them all out, put them in the box, and they're gone.
So about how much time at the beginning of the year or the end of the year before, I guess, do you have to dedicate to getting that all ready? But to make it easier for you the rest of the year?
She starts in about November, and by the time you go buy stamps and you stand in line at Starbucks for 175 gift cards, and the people are like, you want what? I want 5?
Hate to be behind you.
Oh, yeah. No, I leave my card and they do it, yeah. And, so anyway, I either do Starbucks, Rayo's, or Smoothie King, and it just depends on what mood I'm in. Like, do I want a Starbucks while I'm waiting? Do I order Rayo's while I'm waiting? Or a smoothie while I'm waiting?
So then she gets those, she brings them back, you all envelope them up and sign them.
I don't do any of it.
You
I
sign
haven't-
it though, right?
do it. That would be Emily's job.
Between her job of doing that and then you signing that,
I do
is
sign
that
my
a
name,
week's
and-
worth of work, would you say, or
Oh,
a couple
yeah.
weeks?
It's about 2 weeks. to
Okay,
get
that really seems, I mean, I know that's, I should have Emily on here asking her, but I know that sounds like a lot of work at the time, but that really is not that much to think of
For
how
the
much
whole
it
year,
does
Yeah.
for the whole year.
And then it's
Yeah,
done.
just a
All we do is
small
grab
amount
it
of-
and go. And if you
Smart.
don't,
I
I've
love
tried
that,
doing
yeah.
it like once a month. By about March, you've gotten to May and you're like, wait, I never sent out April's. And so I just have to do it by the year.
Yeah.
So
What would you say, Beth, like when you look at your database, Realty Juggler, what's the split between buyers and sellers?
I think I put more buyers only because I have their address.
Yeah.
And sellers are usually going somewhere or whatever. But if they're going to another house, then they're a buyer there. So
Okay.
I don't have very many that have sold with me that don't buy with me, so they usually
Yeah.
are there. And it all goes back to Charlie, bless his heart, wants me to check my production, wants me to know how much I made, wants me to tally up what a platinum is and all that. that's not where it's at for me. As long as I can pay my bill and there's money in the account, I don't care. My husband pays all the bills, and I have a company account that I don't tell him about my bills, and we're all good on that. But for me, my production is, did I add someone to Realty Juggler? Because to me, that's where the success is.
Yeah.
Is that I have a client for life.
Yeah, the relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Marcus has a question.
After Beth had been doing real estate for probably 4 or 5 years, we were talking about, did I always say, I always have to have 5?
Yeah.
We were
Yeah.
like,
But then, how many we have on the board?
And she was like, 5? I would never have that many. I would never want to do that much. And I was like, oh yeah, you will.
Yeah.
And now if she gets
And
under
then
5, she's like, I'm going out of
I'm
business.
going out of business.
Where's my board? My board's empty.
Yeah.
Or Mark will come and say the same thing. My board is terrible.
Yeah.
We're going out of business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely grows your
Time to go to
business.
lunch.
Yeah, that's right.
So are there
Say it again?
some?
March practice, time to go to lunch.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah, oh, true, yes.
Yeah. Oh, and that's another thing. You had asked me about when it's busy or when it's slow. When it is slow, that is your time to jump off the train, take a break, because it doesn't last. I mean, you might have a slow period for 2, 3, maybe.
Don't panic.
Yeah, don't panic. It's
Yeah.
gonna get busy again. As long as
That's
you
what you were talking
are
about.
nurturing your people, it's going to come back.
Consistently,
You just have to nurture your people, and
Yeah.
they'll always come back.
Yeah, don't be afraid to relax for a second.
Yeah.
And, yeah,
We're not going out of
I think that's such
business.
good advice.
I do too.
I remember it was like my first month here, and I think we were doing a mastermind, and Hester was in there, and she said, it never mattered to her what the market did or didn't do. She never let that get to her. The most important thing for her was the person sitting across from her. And I think that's so much of what you're saying, and that's what I'm hearing you say. It's like you always focus on the person that you're adding to that database,
Right.
the person that you created
It's
the
a relationship.
relationship with, and I just love that.
Well, yeah, but if there are no people,
That's true. That's true.
that's when you.
It gets a little
Yeah,
scary
that's
when your
when
board
you're
gets thin.
twilight.
Like, not too long ago, my board was really thin. I was like, okay, well, I can either take a vacation or go out of business, one or the other. And,
Was there any
now
point
it's-
in your career that you had that light switch come on where you were able to change that mentality and enjoy it, or were you always able to kind of?
I don't know that we ever relax when our board gets low. It's just in the back of our mind that, if something, this is not right. I should be really busy right now. I am very unproductive. When my board's not full, I am so unproductive. Like, I can go shopping, I can go do, Tuesday morning, I can go do all these things. But when I'm busy, it's like I get busier when I'm busy, and I just keep, it's like, I don't know, it's just like, once the tire gets rolling, it's just rolling.
So what does your normal day look like of the time that you invest into real estate?
I meet Emily between 9 and 10, usually about 9:30 to 12:30 to 1. Then I usually show houses during the afternoon, go home, do whatever in the afternoon. That's kind of my break time. And then about 5 or so, get the family settled, eat, whatever. And then I go back and do real estate from about, depending on what I have. I'll work an hour or 2, 3, and 4. Depends on what you've got going. I don't know.
So what are some other ways that your team either generates leads but also nurtures those relationships from coming on?
The team does all my Zillow. They've taken over Zillow, and I do my database. It's built, and I do pretty much referral business. Or new people, every now and then they'll call from Zillow or whatever and request me, but otherwise I go to Vivian and Amy, and they work that.
And how do you guys nurture your database just from watching her? Is it any way different than how she does, or
It's the
some
same.
similarities? The same type of gifts and everything included, or do you have your own that kind of fit your personality and the way
Yeah,
you
they do
like?
their gifts.
Yeah, mine's a little different.
Yeah, and Amy does, she might do Cincy's or whatever.
Mhm.
It just depends on, what's popular, what you see at the mall, whatever. It just
Yeah.
depends.
But so do y'all send out the gift cards and things like that as well? So all of it still?
Yeah.
I like it. Any postcards or not really that? Do you do just solds?
Yeah, we do, some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So besides your mom, is there anyone else who is a major influence for you in real estate?
I think Taryn, Hester, and Virginia. Taryn, because she was so willing to share, her experiences, her life, you're gonna be okay. And me, I needed to hear that. I don't know what I'm doing. And so she was an inspiration as far as real estate. And then Hester and Virginia, I always made a point to drive them on Caravan. And you did not want Hester to drive. I don't know where Hester is, but you want Hester to drive. And Virginia wasn't a whole lot better. So I drove, and I love to drive. And so, but I got so much knowledge from just being in the car with them. And then I was roomies with Virginia Brown, and that was a wealth of information. She was just so, and she was a lot like me in that she nurtured her people and loved on them. And so I just like really absorbed that.
Yeah. No, that was one piece of advice that you gave to me whenever I first started, and I would still tell that to anyone because I got the first chance I had to jump in the car with Mark and Vivian and Taryn one day at Caravan, and I was like,
you'll hear it, especially in that car.
And it was great, but I mean, just to even watch them, if I could be quiet long enough, but to watch them go through the house and give their opinions of the price or the things that they would notice for someone that was barely in it, and I didn't know what to be looking for really. I mean, I didn't know what I didn't know, but so it was, to me, that was great advice, and I think for any of you that have not been in it that long, anytime you can get a seat riding with a veteran agent or someone that's been in the business for a while, take it and listen, because
That was huge for me.
So we asked this to all of them, but what do you feel like is your biggest strength in your business or in general?
So there's this personality test that you can take, and you're like a green, a yellow, a blue, or a red, and then there's the orange. Well, I'm the orange. Like there's like one in a group, and the party animal that like wants a party at their house every night. My husband's like, seriously? I have paint parties, and I have Sunday suppers, and I just love hospitality. I love getting people together, and so that kind of has worked for me in this business in that I want to, whether you need a meal or whatever it is, I want to accommodate and make you feel good. Give you a hug.
Yeah, I definitely think that is you. You're right on that, to the point that sometimes I think, when does she sleep? But I think it's great. And then on the other flip side of the coin, in the nature of always growing and improving, what is one area of your business you would like to grow in or improve on?
I am not good at tracking, which I don't know that I want to grow in it, but Charlie tells me I need to grow in it. But being more conscious of tracking and what I'm doing and where I'm getting business and that kind of thing. And also paperwork, I need to improve on that, or just keep Emily. That's my goal. I'll just keep Emily.
Yeah, I like it. So in the 16 years that you've been in business, how have you beat burnout?
I just really like people, so it's hard for me to burn out now if I get a bad client, I can burn out really fast. If there's a draining client,
Right out of there.
I just cannot, that really wears me out emotionally. But one thing I had to learn early on is it's business. Like, I think Mark helped me with this more than anyone. If you have that phone call that, it just underappraised or whatever, my reaction was, I'm going home, I'm gonna mull on it, I'm gonna sleep on it, I'm gonna stress all night, and I'm not gonna call them till tomorrow. And Mark's like, just call them. Just call them. What are they gonna say? It's their problem. It's not your problem. And so that was very hard for me to do. And I think when I finally came to terms with, and then I would call them and they're like, oh yeah, we figured. I'm like, what do you mean you figured? I've been stressing this for hours. And so if I would have just done it like right away and ripped the Band-Aid off, half the time they're aware of the problem before I am.
Yeah.
And so I get in my head, exactly. And so I have to, I'm learning to just, it's business. It's not, I didn't get us here. You bought a refrigerator when you shouldn't have. There's a reason we're here. And so that's hard for me.
Yeah. Well, what would 16 years in Beth Kirk give to rookie Beth Kirk, baby bird Beth Kirk? Is one piece of advice.
Definitely build your sphere with those. And I really, now that I've done it, your sphere is we're so afraid to build that sphere and say, hey, beauty shop lady that's cut my hair twice, I'm a realtor, and but we're just afraid of rejection, and they don't want to reject us. They're like, oh, that's so cool, we'll have a friend, so I think not being afraid to just say, I'm a realtor, and I'm doing very well. You don't have to tell them you've never sold a house before. You're just doing very well.
Yeah.
So not being afraid to build your base and start nurturing that base, whoever it is.
Yeah.
And then also not being afraid to just, if something is needs to be said, just say it. Just,
Would you say that for those that are like, well, I am afraid, just get out and do it, and that fear kind of
does.
dissipates over
yeah,
time, the
it
more
does.
yeah.
The more, well, the first time you send them a gift card, it all changes. The whole dynamics changes.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, wow, okay, you are pretty cool. I do like you. So you're a realtor? So it's just doing it. Just
I
getting
like
out
that
there.
you had mentioned to the hairdresser, things like that, but for those of us that are newer, or the agents here that are, when we hear the word sphere, that sounds kind of cold, things like that, what would you say, or how would you explain what a sphere is?
5 people you know.
Just your list of relationships?
Yeah, your next door neighbor. You know your next door neighbor. You might not know them really well, but you still know your neighbor.
Yeah.
You still, if you go drink at a bar, you know the bartender. If you go to church, you know the pastor. You always know
Sunday school
someone.
teacher, your best friend's parents,
Yeah, you just have to be brave enough to say, I'm a realtor.
Yeah.
And I sell real estate, and I'm really good at it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ask me how many houses I've sold, but I'm really good at it. You know?
And I've told some of them before, but I leveraged the fact that I was at a company surrounded by y'all.
Right.
So before I had it myself, I was able to utilize that. I work at, Remax One, surrounded by the best in the area that are all mentoring me and willing to answer the phone, whenever I have a
Exactly.
question. So I think don't be afraid of that either, because that is, a little bit of an ace in the pocket that gives you some validation before you feel like you've gotten there yourself.
And once you start feeding them, like you were bringing little bags of popcorn with little sayings and things, and that's all that matters, is that
Yeah.
you're getting in their face saying, I'm a realtor, and, I'm going to nurture you until you buy a house from me. Or
You're gonna
so
love
give
me,
some-
dang it.
You're going to love me, dang it.
That's right.
I tried. Doesn't come on my computer.
I remember a time where there was a money amount that you were looking to make, and you made it, and
I
that's enough tracking.
That was tracking. I did it.
That was staying focused. You had
That's right.
some things to accomplish. So
Will you
I did.
share that
Own
story
that.
so that you can
Yeah,
explain
Charlie
what
was
he's
like
talking about?
determined that I needed to track what I made, and so then I could, at the end of the year, when I checked off whatever I did, I would see the results of my fruit. Anyway, and
Fruits
so
of your labor.
yeah, fruits of the labor. And so I was putting Caitlin through college, and we had 2 vehicles that we needed to, one to purchase and one to pay off. And so that was my goal, is to do that. And so I did it, and so then at the end of the year, I was like, oh my goodness, I really did it. And
Yeah.
so that was my 1 year of tracking.
the reason
That was the
the
platinum
reason
year,
that
right?
conversation.
Yes. But see, Charlie, when you're not great at that, you get a Vivian on your team who tracks everything and tells us we are almost at platinum. I said, what's platinum? But
If you use Lone Wolf,
she does.
but if you use the Lone Wolf that the company
Keeps up with a lot
provides
of
for
it,
you,
yeah.
all you gotta do is go to that and it's all.
Yeah.
Were you saying something still, Charlie, though? I'm sorry.
Nobody pays attention to me. It's okay. No, maybe you should give the context for why we had the conversation in the first place, A, and then at the end of that, after you achieved your goals, what you were able to do for Alan.
I did buy him a new,
You're-
I surprised him with a brand new truck. And
Was it one of the times that you thought you were going out of business? Because it was
probably.
getting down?
I
Is
think,
that what
didn't
the
I come and
context
ask you
was?
about, so you get on a split or something? And you're like, no, you're
No.
not. You're not doing that.
Charlie, will you give it some context for us?
No, it was that. We were just having
I thought I was going out of
she was
business.
like, I have 2 accounts, and one is the account we live out of, the other one is my real estate account. My real estate account, I do whatever I want to with, and it's almost done, so I'm gonna be out of here. And I said, no, no.
I was like, can I go on that split or something? I'm like, not making it. He's like, no, you're not.
So,
So
anyway,
not only are you
beautiful
still
job.
here, but Alan thanks you for his truck.
He did, he got a new truck.
Did it make you feel any different getting to see that, of realizing like, wow, because that's a pretty big deal. Like that's not a little thing to buy,
Right, it was. I mean, I like, well, the great thing is that I do big things, but I don't, like, after a month or so, I forget that I've done that. And so I'm like, have I done anything this year? Have we went anywhere? So if I would do more tracking, then I would see more fruits of my labor.
Yeah.
So
No, I totally.
I need to work on that, Charlie. I'm gonna work on that
He's
tomorrow.
right here.
Tomorrow.
He sees you that way, but we get to see him over here.
Oh, it's fun.
Oh. Okay, well, Beth, thank you so much for sitting with me today and for
you,
sharing all of it.
You're welcome.
All the goodness. And thank all of y'all for joining us too. Y'all take care.